everyone. I'm Jess with Black Travelers Network, and I wanted to come on and do a quick video about 5 reasons why more Black Americans should create their own local tour companies. And before I get into reason number 1, this is such an important issue. You know, today I see so many people wanting to get into travel because, well, one, they love to travel, which is an excellent reason to go into the travel industry. But also, you know, people want to do large group travel experiences as a way of creating a second income, if not a more permanent sort of income. So a lot of times people merge their love for traveling with their desire to create their own business, which is a fantastic avenue to go down. However, I do want to talk about how we as a community leave a lot of money on the table. And the reality is that you can actually monetize your own backyard. And this is why I introduced the concept of more of us going into business by creating our own local tour companies. And so the first reason why more Black Americans should create their own tour companies is because, number one, it's a great avenue for creating some side hustle money. You know, most of us work Monday through Friday with Saturdays and Sundays off, and some of you guys have other days of the week that you're off. With that being said, we oftentimes are exposed to our American ways of life from the eyes and the lens of, you know, the American. And what we fail to realize, because most people don't really operate in those circles where you interact with a lot of people who are coming from outside of your city or outside of your state to visit, is that we're leaving so much money on the table. You know, there are tourists who come from all over the world visiting all parts of the United States every single day. And with that being said, you know, to create a local tour company is a fantastic way of monetizing your city, your town, your little community by taking people on tours that establish, you know, the best places to go, the best places to eat, you know, even some of the history in your own backyard. So if you can't do it Monday through Sunday or a full-fledged schedule of tours, at least get something going by servicing people maybe on Fridays or Saturdays and Sundays or something like that. But, you know, just think about it. People are always visiting your city and your town. And most of the time when people go from one state to another, especially if they come from out of the country, they don't necessarily know where to go. And so as a tour guide or having your own tour company, that's a great way of capitalizing off of those folks. The second reason, and I'm getting out my little notepad because I want to go through each of these reasons. The second reason why more Black Americans should create their own tour businesses is it's a way for each of us to tell our story to the rest of the world. You know, when it comes to us as African Americans or people of African descent, however you want to classify yourself, you know, we have clearly defined communities within most of the major cities in this country. And so most of those communities have a very distinct history that comes with it that relates directly to us as Black Americans. So there's clearly a record of when the first Black American came into the particular city. There may, for some of you, there may even be a link to African Americans creating that particular town or that particular city that you live in. That's important history. You know, when you go beyond the surface and like take a closer look at what has happened on a local level, you can find people of African descent from all over the world who have helped at some point in time to build up the community, whether it was, in the early creation of America or even today in helping to sustain some of the communities that we have by providing local businesses that people from all over the world can actually patronize. So that's the second reason. The third reason is it's another way of communicating the needs and the issues that exist within our particular community. Every major city has its pockets of areas that are really wealthy, as well as those areas that may be really poor, or those areas that may be like middle income. All of those areas, regardless of the amount of wealth that exists in those communities, have a number of different needs and a number of different ideas, initiatives that they feel would better help the community had they had more support from outside the community or as well as from within inside of the community. So, for example, there are a number of cities that may decide they want to create a local park, or they may want to create a local rec center for children, or there may be a school that's conducting an important school drive and would like donations from different parts of the community or even from outside the community. Those are important things that you could easily note and expose people to when you get customers or clients and you tour your local community. So that's the third reason. Creating a tour business is a great way of communicating the needs of the community. Reason number 4, it's an excellent way of supporting Black-owned businesses. A lot of us as Black Americans talk about the importance of buying Black and supporting other Black-owned businesses. Well, by having a business that's focused on servicing those folks who are from outside the area who are coming in to tour, you can expose them to so many different businesses that maybe they would never necessarily find, or maybe they hadn't thought to look up, or maybe a lot of people don't even know about. And so Black-owned businesses oftentimes are located in a variety of different parts of the community. Some of the more heavily trafficked areas in a city may require people to pay a lot more in rent. And quite frankly, there are a number of businesses that, may not be able to afford that rent. And so rather than being able to, limit tourists to shopping in a certain part of town, you can expose them to other places within your community that are Black-owned businesses where they can actually patronize and purchase goods, souvenirs, food, whatever the case may be. But I think it's an excellent way of connecting outsiders to local Black-owned businesses. It's also a wonderful way for you to build relationships with other Black-owned businesses as well as other non-Black-owned businesses. As a tour operator, or if you decide to operate your own tours, or if you decide to create your own tour business, you are an important link into every single community, because they know that you have the power to not only bring people into the community, but you have the power to decide which businesses those tourists are going to patronize. And so that's just another way of developing a really great relationship with businesses throughout your community by creating your own tour business. The fourth, we're on number 5. The fifth benefit and reason why we should start your own tour business is that it contributes to the local economy. If you're bringing people, whether it's tourists, international tourists, or even travelers from other states, I can't tell you how many people I meet who say Los Angeles is a place that they've always wanted to visit, or Chicago, they've never been to Chicago. You know, we take for granted that because we're in the United States and because there are, you know, people can easily take flights here and there, we take for granted that, you know, most people have probably visited a number of places throughout the country, but the United States is very big. So, you know, being able to get a business going where you're able to interact with both other American travelers who've never visited your city, or maybe they visit your city and they only stay in a certain part of the city, you know, being able to attract those as well as international tourists is just an excellent way to, number 5, contribute to your local economy. By having a tour business, as I said before, you decide where people go. You decide which museums they visit. You decide which stores they patronize, where they eat. You give them an overview of whether it's the city or the community. You are sort of like their link and their foundation in the particular city that they're visiting. And so all of that can directly contribute to your local economy, so long as you're bringing those tourists to your backyard, places that you're very familiar with, and that where they can shop and where they can not only shop but learn about the area as a whole. And so I hope this has been helpful to you to really start to think about the travel industry in a different kind of way. There's so many different ways to monetize travel. I know it's exciting and, you know, attractive to create travel groups and travel communities where you're able to take people to different parts of the world. That's the most exciting part. We actually focus a lot of our experiences on an international scale. It's so much fun. But we will say that I will say that I feel like oftentimes we leave a lot of money on the table, because just like we go out and tour different countries and patronize different foreign businesses, there are all these folks who actually do get approved to come to America for the sake of touring. Not to mention there are all these folks who come from other states who want to, you know, just learn more about the Black community, or not even just the Black community, but other cities, and to have someone who can help guide them through an experience that's unique, that will give them an understanding and an appreciation of the community, is just a wonderful opportunity. So if there are any of you who have already started your own local tour company or travel company, definitely send us an email at blacktravelersnetwork@gmail.com. Or if you're interested in starting your own tour company or travel business, tour company, however you want to call it, definitely give us a shout. Again, you can always email us at blacktravelersnetwork@gmail.com. It was great talking to you guys. I hope you really strongly consider this as an option and an avenue to getting involved on a local scale in the travel industry. Thank you guys for listening. Talk to you soon.